Now I'm down to the last topic on the far right section, and I always keep checking that my topics are square. And this part that I'm cutting right now, it's an extra piece that I request in order to cover any gaps in the back of the walls, in case the walls are leaning towards the outside of the house, or if they are too far out and the base molding is not going to cover it. So then after cutting that, you can see the gap between the wall and the tokic is minimum, and I proceed to level it flush with the rest of the tokics, always using levels, always checking everything twice, because this part is the one that is gonna be the important part for all the boxes to go easy. I don't have to re-level. I don't have to fix the stuff. So I use 1.25 towards the other topics, and then I use 3 inches towards the back, and trying to always grab the 2x4 plate that goes at the bottom of the walls. So I hit a piece of metal right there. Sometimes it's the screw, but there is no plumbing in the back. There is the outside patio, so I'm confident that I'm not hitting any plumbing at all. What you see hanging from the wall is a magnet that I utilize also to look for the screw heads that are holding the drywall. And if I find the screws, that means there is wood in the back. Okay, so that's so far what I'm doing. And at the front, I still use the same L brackets with any leftover that I can find. I use it to secure the tokics. A lot of times, people just leaves the shims. I mean, it doesn't take much to do this blocking. I just do it because I like the strength, and I like the fact that it doesn't move at all. So my boxes, when they go on top, I'm 100% confident that they are gonna still be in plumbing level. Screw it to the bottom. I have wood floors, plywood wood floors, rough floors, so I have no problem screwing everything to the bottom and adding some more blockings to the back. After this, being the last topic, I'm gonna start throwing boxes on top of every single topic. After cutting all the shims, we finally start throwing boxes on top of the tokics. And I showed you before, I guess, how the cabinets have a shoe at the bottom. It's a 3/4 leftover material, scrap material. That's what we are removing right now, and it's only used for transportation. This way the doors doesn't hit the bottom. The bottom of the doors doesn't hit the top of the doors in the other cabinet. And we installed those ones running from the front to the back, so in case you want to slide out the cabinet a little bit, it doesn't drop on top of the other cabinet. So there you see more shoes getting removed. And now it's time to start cutting some holes for the plumbing. I do go ahead and use 1.75 inches for the water pipes, and 3 inches for the drains. And one thing that I really like is for the pipes not to have any finish parts yet, like valves or the plates that goes before the valves, because this way it's a much cleaner looking from the inside. With respect of the electrical boxes, when there is no outlet installed yet, I do go ahead and cut the full size on the outside of the boxes, just the way you see it over here. And then I'm drilling a little bit on the side over there, because that drain pipe is coming a little bit from the other cabinet. Cabinet number 5 is what you can see over there. So I want to be clear completely from touching the end of the sink cabinet. There it is. So now it's time to push it in, and I want to show you how clean it looks. I'm gonna show you ahead of in the video. Now I'm cutting just a little bit of the corner of the cabinet next to it. As you can see, I'm going in an angle just to clear the pipe. There it goes. Now it's completely ready to start screwing the cabinets together, and hopefully you see it right there. See, it looks really clean. So when the valve and the plates goes on, it's gonna cover the hole, and also the plates for the electrical outlets are going to be covering the holes from the cutouts. Here is another tip. Before screwing the cabinets to the wall, I go ahead and screw them towards each other. Is what you can see right now. I make sure all the time that I throw a line, a straight line. You can see it over here, from one corner, from one extreme all the way to the other extreme, and I grab it with, you know, a piece of wood, an L bracket, something that I can grab it with, and I go completely to the other extreme. And the purpose of this is to look for gaps, and as soon as I can identify the gaps, like right here, it's about 1/8, I go ahead and push the cabinet forward at that corner only. Over here I have a little bit more, probably 3/8, and at the other extreme I don't have anything. That's the purpose of it, is to look for the places where I need to push the cabinet forward so I can have a complete straight line. As you can see, now I am without any gaps. It was 1/8 over here, nothing now. It was 3/8 in the corner, nothing now. And my cabinets are 100% straight. Remember at the beginning of this part series that I was explaining how we leave void space, 3/4 or 1 inch on the drawings? Let me show you this. It's time for subtop material to go on. It's 3/4 plywood, and if I show you the space that I have at the corner, it's not 1 inch, it's about 1/2 inch. And if I put the plywood, you also can see that the walls are not completely square. That creates a problem. If I don't leave that space, that void space, that creates a problem for the installation. If we go to the other extreme, it's even worse. At the very corner there is no space at all. We center everything, we start from the center, we push the cabinets to the ends, and then the uppers needs to also be centered between the windows. Continuing with the setup of the subtops, I go ahead and mark the extra material that I have. I like to leave 1 inch from the end to where the subtop starts. This is for the solid surface to have a space to return and have a finish end. The extra material that I have is because we had to push the cabinets towards the void space that I was explaining before. The other thing is I also like to leave 1/4 of an inch before the face of the cabinet, and I also like to mark, as you can see, I mark where the ends of the cabinets are, because I like to use 1 5/8 screws down into the ends of the cabinets. I use 1 1/4 where I don't have enough wood. When the lowers are completely screwed to the wall, then Armando over here proceeds to vacuum the interiors. He uses the screw caps, white caps from Fast Cap, to cover the screws, and then and only then he starts putting the drawer boxes in. Now, one thing that you have to be careful is, you can see my apron. I do have screws in that apron, and I have to be careful because in the past, one time I scratched the top drawer faces when I was leaning the way I'm leaning right now. I scratched it a little bit. So now that I know that, I try to, keep away my weight when I'm leaning against the drawer faces. And obviously, if you don't want this to happen, then probably don't put the drawers until the very end. I'm already used to it, and a lot of times I also put a blanket, moving blanket, to cover and protect the drawer faces and the doors, just so we can get ahead with some steps. Armando is always following us. He's behind us, putting shelves, cleaning, white caps, drawers, adjusting the drawer faces a little bit so they don't hit with each other. And so that's something that, it's a step that he can get finished behind us. This pantry is already installed. It's plumb and level. And we have this panel that goes on the right hand side to give it finish. For us, it's easier to do an extra panel with finish as a separate piece instead of putting finish in the cabinet, because the panel can be protected with blankets for transportation. The cabinet, if it has already finished, is a lot harder to transport and to be careful with not scratching it. But there is another problem also that we run into many times, is the walls. The walls are, I think they're really bad. Let me show you what I mean. Here it is. The pantry is touching the wall at the bottom, but at the top it's about 1 inch away from the wall. So when I order the pieces, I always ask for extra material, meaning this panel is coming 1 inch bigger than what I need, and at the end I want to leave 7/8, just the way you see over here, 7/8. I even use a small block, 7/8 and 1 inch. 7/8 is right there. So the panel comes out flush with the face of the doors. That's the purpose. Anyway, so now is the time to install this panel over here, which it goes flush at the top, 7/8 out, and flush at the bottom of the cabinet. How do I do that? Let me give you a couple of tips. Okay, so I have the panel over here, and I already put some tape on the back to be able to mark my scribing, and I have to put this one on the cabinet, on the right hand side of the cabinet, flush at the top, and then I'm gonna measure how much I have from the face of the cabinet to the edge of this panel, and I have to have the same
all the way down. That means to me that it's parallel to the cabinet, consistent. So if I have, for example, 1 inch, I only have then 1/8 of an inch to do a scribe over here. But what about if I have 2 inches over here? Then that means I can give 1.1/8 a scribe over here, because all I need is 7/8 at the front, past the face of the cabinet. So when you're by yourself, here is a few tips. I have help today, but I want to show you what to do when you are by yourself. I use scrap wood. I call this my wings, and I screw this at the top. I already pre-drill it, so I don't waste that time on video. There it goes. There it goes. Now I can take my panel, bring it to the pantry. Careful with the ceiling. And there it is. It's hanging from the top. I use 1.1/8, 1.5/8 screws, and I am carefully trying to move it. The panel is touching at the bottom to the wall. So now come over here and I use some clamps just to make sure an accident doesn't happen with the panel hanging from there, right there. I'm gonna measure over here. I have 1 inch and 11/16. Now I have to have 1 inch and 11/16 at the top. Over here, I'm pulling it forward. 1 inch and 5, 1 inch and 11/16 exactly. And I can feel over here at the top, I can feel it flush. Okay, so I'm gonna add another clamp. Okay, double check, make sure it didn't move. 1 inch and 5/8 now. So come over here, 1 inch and 11, 1 inch and 5. Okay, so how much is 1 inch and 5 minus 7/8? It's 3/4. Take my compass, adjust it for 3/4. Okay, 3/4 it is. Now come over here and run my scribe all the way down. It's time to take the panel. It's already marked. For this type of application, I do prefer this type of clamps. These are Craig, and they are self-adjustable, meaning it doesn't matter what thickness you are grabbing, it self-adjusts. I love these clamps, but not for this application. Okay, so time to remove the panel. The other way. Okay, this is my bench table for today. Okay, good enough.
Thank you for watching.